everybody, and welcome back to Shaman Talk with Tegan. Tarot with Tegan is where you'll find me on Facebook or Instagram. All right, we're going to get right into it today. I am talking about the Luminous Energy Field, or the LEF. So this is how we refer to it through my shamanism, as the LEF, or Luminous Energy Field. But it can also be referred to as your light body or your rainbow body or your aura. There's a couple different words to describe what I'm going to talk about today, but they're all generally meaning the same thing. In honor of that, I wore like the brightest clothes I own, which is like just these two pieces, and then my aura crown. We'll see how long this makes it, though. It's already giving me a headache. But so I'm going to try and stick to one word to describe what I'm talking about, but if you hear me use a different term, I'm still referring to the same thing. Okay, so what is the LEF, or Luminous Energy Field? It is your energy, basically. It's this all-encompassing energetic body that goes all the way around you. So usually it's around like your wingspan, like out, and then tall wise it goes up and then down into the ground. So it's big. It's a big halo. It kind of looks like, if you could see it with your eyeballs, it would look like a donut. And so there is like a middle energy, and that's where your body comes in. And there's all this swirling energy around you, and it comes down through your body, through your chakras, and back down into the ground and then kind of out and around. So it's basically a blueprint of who you are at an energetic level. Like I said, if you could see it with your eyes, it'd look like a mass of like swirling colors, and you'd probably, a lot of you would see objects and things. So our luminous energy field holds a lot of stuff. So like I said, it's like a blueprint of who you are at your core. So in your energy field, you can hold a lot of negativity. So when I say a blueprint of who you are, it's like a glimpse into the things that you're still holding on to. So in your energy field, this giant donut-like thing, you're going to be holding on to things like your karmic contracts. Those are going to be floating around. Different ways that you've died that have really made an impact on you. Those things are floating around. Traumas, whether from this lifetime or past lifetimes, they're floating around in there too. Any just overly negative behaviors or patterns, those are all floating around in that energy field, okay? And the energy field itself holds basically the programming, if you will, to how you interact and see reality. So sometimes you hear people say, oh, well, like, there's only one reality. There absolutely is not one reality. Everyone's reality is completely different because it's skewed by the way you see the world, by the way you view things. And that all comes from the information that is around you in your luminous energy field. So the more crap that you are holding on to in this field, the more your vision's going to be skewed, and you're going to just see the negative things in life. You're going to repeat patterns, because it's in your DNA, in your energy field. So what happens is, so when I go in to do an illumination, because what I can do is I go into people's chakra system, and that's where that energy kind of from the energy, or from the LEF, funnels down into, right? So where do the chakras come into play? Because that's what I go in an illumination, and I clear out people's chakras. Think of the chakras as like the organs of your luminous energy field, or your light body, or whatever you call it. It's like they're pumping out all this energy, and they're also kind of almost trying to filter out some of this negative stuff that's stuck in it. So when I go into someone's energy, I'm usually going into their chakras and clearing things out, because there are different layers to your energy field, and depending on what kind of trauma or karma that you have, it's in different layers. But basically what happens is once I go in there, because I am putting my own energy as I'm working, things will basically start to come into an anchor into the chakra that's closest or that it's even stemming from. So that's why when I go in, I mostly work in people's chakras because these traumas want to be released. And so they'll basically make their way down towards the chakra so I can get it out. Now, that being said, as I've mentioned before in one of my other videos, I think the illumination video, there have been times where I've been working with a client, especially if they're in person, and I'll notice something outside of the chakra system just hanging out in their energy field. And I have to figure out how to get rid of that because for whatever reason, it won't come and anchor in so I can grab it and go. So, it's always interesting. Like I've said before too in other videos, the spiritual and the energetic it's always changing, or maybe it's not changing, it's the same, but I'm just gaining more knowledge. And anyone who does this type of work is just like, the more you do it, the more you think you're starting to get a grasp of exactly what's going on. And then boom, something happened just out of left field. And they're like, whoa, okay, this is totally different. Never experienced this. But yes, so usually whatever's floating around will come and anchor in and I'll get it out in an illumination, an overly simplified way to put it, I guess. But let's talk a minute about karmic contracts because those are a little different. In order to clear a contract, which you can either have with another person, you can have a contract with yourself, or you can have a contract with an entity. And so the word entity is a word to describe a couple different beings, but let's just say a contract between two people can be somewhat easily dispersed with my help or other people's help if you need it. Ones with yourself, I do what's called a soul retrieval, and I can help you get rid of a contract that you basically made with yourself and is like holding you back. The contracts with other entities, those can be a little more difficult to get rid of. So if I happen to let you know, or someone else lets you know that, hey, there's some kind of karmic contract going on with whatever term they use, alien, demon, whatever it is, then that's when we go in and you would do a crystal dreaming session with me, because a lot of times those need to be like confronted head on and a lot goes into it. So those things can be floating around your energy. And like I said, the more karmic contracts you hold, the more just negative energy and emotions you hold, the more traumas you hold onto that you cannot let go of, the more that is going to impede on your life. The more you're going to see reality as this awful, terrible thing. The world's a terrible place, terrible people and things like that. Fear, loathing, those are all symptoms of having just way too much crap in your energy field. So doing the work that I do and other types of energetic and spiritual work, like I always say, it's not just me or what I do that can help. Any kind of deep spiritual healing will help get rid of those things, because then you'll start to feel lighter. You'll start to be able to change the patterns that you have that are negative, or you'll be able to, sometimes you can kind of break a contract without even knowing it with a person. Maybe you have a contract with your current boyfriend or girlfriend and you guys are just making each other miserable, and you're in a place now where you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is not healthy, this is done. That's breaking a contract all on your own. You probably had a contract coming into this incarnation with this person being like, okay, we have to figure this out and know how to separate. And that's just a very bland example of one. The contracts that are made with other people, with ourselves, with entities, the reasoning, the words behind it are all over the map and can literally be almost anything. So that's why when it comes to those types of things, either I need to do a soul retrieval usually, or we need to do crystal dreaming. So how does your energy field affect you? Well, like I said, if you're holding on to all these traumas and you're just that heavy and dense all the time, your mental stability probably won't be great. And it can start to affect you physically. Your physical body will feel when you're holding on to all these things, or the opposite. Your physical body won't even know the difference until you start purging these things and start clearing, start healing. And then all of a sudden you're going to be like, ooh, wait a minute. my physical body feels lighter, or I don't have as many aches and pains, or I don't get as sick as often. That's a big one because your energy field affects your central nervous system. And, I've had examples of this very recently, actually. Someone came to me and needed an illumination, and they've had one done before and things like that. But they were telling me that they had recently been suffering from a cold, and they're like, it will not go away. I don't know what's going on. So, long story short, I went into their energy system, cleared them out, and I realized they had a spirit attachment. Actually, it was an entity attachment. So, after I removed the entity who did not want to go, finished clearing their energy, they said right after, I remember them saying, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to go to sleep right now. And it was like 7:30 p.m. So I texted them the next day. I was like, how are you feeling? They said, boop, went to bed, woke up, cold's gone, feel great, feel different. So that's just an example of what can happen. And, I'm not saying that to, toot my own horn or to say I have miraculous healing abilities. The point of that is that your energy field and the things that you hold on to, whether you have contracts, traumas, maybe you have an attachment, those things impede on all levels of your health, including your physical health. So the more that you can heal yourself, the less often, most likely, that you'll get sick. If the imprint is not on there to hold on to things, to have certain diseases, if it's gone, then it won't happen. So I think sometimes what happens in this lifetime is, we are like, oh, I have a history of cardiac problems in my family. Now, obviously, if that's true, it's good to know and to live a healthy lifestyle, right? I'm not saying don't do that. I'm not saying don't go to the doctor when necessary. But what I'm also saying is, from an energetic and spiritual standpoint, that might be imprinted in your energy field and in turn in your DNA. But what starts to happen at that deeper level of healing is if you take that imprint away, you take it out of your energy field, you take it out of your literal DNA. And I know I can almost hear some people who might see this being like, oh my gosh, what BS is she talking about? But that it is what it is, So you can heal yourself at a deep level. I can help you to initiate that healing that needs to be done. You don't have to be fated to have the same diseases as your aunt, as your mother, as whoever, besides physically taking care of yourself and things like that. Energetically speaking, if you take out the imprint of that, then it's not there to do it. And so I have noticed since healing, I used to get sick almost constantly. And now that I've done the deep, intensive healing and I continue to work on myself, I rarely ever get sick. Or if I do, I can feel it. It runs through my system like that. I can heal so much quicker because I don't have all this other crap impeding on my energy and the energy flow. So one of the things that happens when I do the illuminations is some people will say like, whoa, I felt like a flow or something went down through my body. And it's like, yes, that's your energy being like, woo, finally, I can like flow the right way and we can get things moving. So that's all that's happening. And so, like I've said in other videos, it's like we have to take care of ourselves on all levels. And one of those levels that is severely lacking still in general is the spiritual and energetic side of ourselves. I feel like it's slowly coming around, but not to the extent that it needs to. We really need to be able to integrate the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. So that's all I'm trying to put out there with this video, to inform you of your energy field, and that it's real, that everyone has it, everyone has chakras, and they all come together and work together for your health. So I just want to make sure I have everything. Okay, so the energy field or the rainbow body, I want to make sure I say this correctly. Anyone who incarnates here, you have like a general idea of what's going to be going on, and you have almost like a goal that you have in this lifetime. Okay. But the general idea, like if you zoom out a little bit, the whole of what we're all trying to do here is to become the best version of ourselves, to heal ourselves, to shed our ego, and do, again, from the shamanic standpoint, is activate our light bodies. And that, or our rainbow bodies too. Like I said in the beginning, it's all these different names, but it's the same thing. It's to understand about our chakra system, how our LEF is there and how it holds on to things, and how we need to be able to heal and let it go, let things go outside of ourselves. Which easier said than done, right? But that's why I'm putting all these videos out there. You can do it. You can do it through me. You can do it through somebody else. You can even do it through yourself. It's possible. So your energy can greatly affect your physical health. And really, the sooner we all can kind of learn to recognize that at the core of it, we are not our physical bodies. Not that we shouldn't take care of them, but that's not who we are. We are energy, we are souls, whatever you want, however you want to say it, but we need to take care of ourselves on every level. And, I know some of you watching this may not be comfortable or might not be like totally sold on the idea of past lives and things like that. And again, I'm just coming from my perspective that most people that I work with, you've lived before multiple times, most likely. And so what I tell people is, when they're sometimes telling me about certain traumas they've had in this lifetime, they're trying to heal them, which is great. But that's usually only like the tip of the iceberg. I always tell people, if there's some kind of severe trauma going on, most likely that's stemming from a different lifetime. Because if you're a soul that's lived before, which again, from what I understand and what I've seen, most people on Earth have. There might be the few baby souls hanging around out there, and that's okay. But more than likely, especially if you're coming to me, you feel called to do my type of energy work, you've lived before. So what's happening is that your energy field's holding on to something from the past. So, there might be, let's just, as an example, have something to do with alcohol abuse, whether it's you or whether it's a childhood trauma from a parent. More than likely, this is stemming back way before this lifetime. And so to really get to the core of what is happening, sure, you might need to see a therapist to get over what happened in your childhood. That's fine. But once you're through that, we need to get to like the actual core of things. And that's when I do a soul retrieval. Or we could do a crystal dreaming session and you can see for yourself that this is stemming from elsewhere. And once we can get that portion healed, that's when like everything is healed in your energy field having to do with that. Because what can happen is there's this core trauma and then it just kind of spreads throughout your lifetimes. Or there's a karmic contract you made with yourself. Again, let's stick with the alcohol thing. In a past life, you were the alcoholic parent. And now, karmically speaking, the roles had to be reversed. But in order for that to stop happening every lifetime, there has to be an acknowledgement the original wound needs to be healed. So, again, it's just opening up your minds to the possibility that, especially because I've heard people say it where, they've gone through therapy or they've done their own like spiritual and internal looking and things like that. They're like, okay, but now what? Like, I still feel sad or I still feel angry. And again, acknowledging that this is literally stuck in your energy and being able to get it out. It's kind of the next step, so to speak. So we want to try and clear our luminous energy field so we can start living and making decisions and doing everything from like the best of intentions, from the highest power, I guess, so to speak. And we're not seeing through a lens of our traumas and our karmic contracts and things like that. We want to be able, and part of that is like in my last video is shedding the ego, right? But this is part of the egoic work, is to understand exactly what is going on and to let go of those harder things, or the things that, like, most of you watching this probably have no idea if you have karmic contracts or you have an entity or ghost attachment. And that makes sense, because before I started my shamanic journey, before I became a shaman, I had no idea that stuff like that existed. You know, I had these little inklings that I like had past lives before and things like that. But, you know, upon hearing this, it can be hard to accept. So again, I'm not trying to force you to think how I think or force you to believe anything. But if you keep an open mind, you're only going to, I don't know, do good for yourself, at least in my opinion. So if you're someone who's out there thinking, oh man, this sounds like something I need to acknowledge or I need help, reach out to me. My email is on here somewhere. We can set up an appointment. Or if you just have, questions, let's do it. I do make these videos so we can start a conversation, and, sessions come secondary. And I do want to put it out there that I know not everyone has the means to be constantly doing things for themselves or paying money for things. So if that's something that is stopping you from doing a session with me, please still get a hold of me, because we can figure it out. I'm here. Part of my mission on earth, literally coming here, is to help others heal. Literally, I am meant to be doing soul retrieval work. And so that's my calling, despite whether someone can pay for a session or not. So always get a hold of me anyways. And like I said, we can figure it out. I want to be able to help as many people as possible. And, keep healing myself as well. Okay. So LEF, everyone's got crap floating around in there. If you want to do your deep healing, do it. I will give the warning that, doing the intense, deep healing work that is frankly necessary for most people is no easy feat. I will say that, and I've said it in my illumination video, where it's not a one and done thing. Most people have some karmic contracts, some traumas, some of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and so it's nothing to be afraid of, but it isn't to be just done with no thought at all, I guess. Sometimes we jump into it and we're like, oh, this is easy, it's a cakewalk, and all of a sudden, boom, we're hit with like the real stuff, so to speak, and people back away and they're like, never mind, no more healing, I'm good. But really, that's when you need to like go at it even harder, right? When we have to face the real intense stuff. So let me just really quickly make mention, because I've mentioned crystal dreaming a couple times now in a couple different videos. When I do a soul retrieval, it's during an illumination process, which I said earlier is me going into the chakras and like helping you remove these traumas, right? Or I do a soul retrieval in which I go into an altered state during our illumination session, and I take back, it's called a soul retrieval, because during extreme traumas or a point where a karmic contract is made, part of your soul literally flees to go to a safe place. And I, as the shaman, go into an altered state and go get that piece back. And that, again, that's a very watered down version of what I have to do. But I essentially go get the piece of soul and integrate it back into your energy, okay? So the difference between that, because I break contracts as well while I do that, and the crystal dreaming, is that the crystal dreaming, I take you with me basically into that altered state so that you see with your own eyes, or sometimes you don't see, sometimes you just feel, sometimes you just sense, it depends on the person, but you sense what's going on. And like I said, if there's a contract with a specific being or entity, it depends. Sometimes I'm not able to break the contract myself, and it's you who has to do it. That's when crystal dreaming is needed as well. That being said, like I've said in other videos, if it's a entity or spirit attachment and they're just there thinking they can hang out with you, I'll get them gone. Don't worry. But if it's an actual contract where it's a binding thing, that's when crystal dreaming is needed. You lay in a mandala of crystals, very specific crystals that I have. I take you into an altered state and we basically find out what the hell is going on and what happened and where this being came from. Or, you can do more than just these karmic things, but that's a very brief overview of what crystal dreaming is versus my normal shamanic illumination and soul retrieval process. Okay, that was a lot of information. So again, if you just have questions or comments, totally cool with me. If you feel like you need a session, let's do it. I can do it over the phone if you're kind of far away from me. I can do it in person. But yeah, like I said, the point of these videos is to just share information, is to potentially just open people's minds. I'm not trying to force everyone to believe the same thing as me. I would never do that. But like I said, the more open-minded you are, especially to understanding who we all are at the deepest level, the better it is for everyone. And I don't know, why wouldn't you want to some extent, try something new or try something better? If you're someone who, even if you're someone who's like, oh, I know somebody who has broken their same ankle throughout their lifetime like 3 times. And it's like, well, that's a crystal dreaming session for sure, because any even minor stuff that's going on physically, most likely, even if it doesn't seem like it, has to do with a past life or has to do with a karmic contract. So there's so many little signals and signs to where it's like, okay, your body and your spirit is trying to tell you, you need to heal this. So let me actually end this with one more example, because I feel like I wanted to mention this earlier. There's a specific example when I was training about a woman who was having constant elbow pain. She hurt her elbow. She broke her elbow. She had to have surgery. And so that's something that most people just brush off as bad luck, right? But guess what? It was karmic. And the second she did a session with the shaman who was writing about this, as soon as she figured out where it was stemming from, guess what? No more elbow pain ever again. So that's just the potential that this type of healing has. And again, not trying to claim to be some miracle worker, but some of these aches and pains, some of these mental instabilities we have can be gone. They can be gone. You got to do the work, not just the socially accepted work, but the spiritual work as well. Okay, I'm going to end there before I go way off on my tangents. And yes, luminous energy field, it's all around you. It's carrying all your nonsense. So if you want to get rid of some of that nonsense, contact me or somebody who has the same abilities as me, and let's all start to heal together.